is the Nigerian Children's Day, and we celebrate it all over the country. And so if you live in Nigeria, it's a good time to start thinking about trust fund for your children, to start thinking about your will. I remember last month, when we're having the conversation around insurance, I said that I never had my parents talk about insurance. And maybe a lot of things would have been saved. Maybe would have had more than we had when my dad passed. But because there was no plan, they were not even educated. They don't know anything around it. And this is the reason why we're doing this, that if we are educated, we're able to put the system and the structure in place, then life becomes easier for us and our children. And that is part of the reasons why we are doing this. So welcome once again to Family Meeting, the May edition, the Children edition. And I bet this is the best gift we can give to our children. And so we're going to be having conversation around wills and trust fund. Those of you that want your children to go and school outside, those of you that still have children in the secondary school, but you want them to go to school in private universities, we're going to hear a lot about all this, how to plan ahead. So this is preparing for your future. You can still let's remember to share the link to our family and friends, people that, and this is part of the things that our generation, we are also not paying attention to it because our parents did not pass it down to us. And so it's in some of us blind spots. And this is the reason why I want you to take it serious. And I want you to share with your family and friends. It's a good gift you want to give your family and friends. So please, let's share the link. And some of us introduced and mentioned where we're joining in from. I saw TPF joining in from Brampton, Ontario. Thank you very much, TPF, for always. Stanley from Benin City. So if you're just joining in, please drop in the chat box where you're joining us from. Where are you joining in from? I say good evening from here because I am joining in from Lagos, Nigeria. So let me know where you're joining in from. Yes, Chioma, this has been recorded and it's been streamed on YouTube. So it will be saved on the YouTube channel of the center, Family Center. Admin, by the time we're rounding up, the admin will drop the link so that we can share the recording with other people. So let's remember to invite and call our friends. Oh, Chioma said she's joining from Abakaliki. Eunice is joining from Lagos. Thank you very much. So that we don't waste much of your time, I have my speakers. Okpayemi is joining from Ogudu, Lagos. Thank you, Okpayemi, for joining. I have my speakers in the room already. I can see Tara Aishida already. Godswill, please, if you're here. So admin, please spotlight Tara so that I can have her on the screen with me. And Godswill, please, if you're here, please let me know. Okay, so admin, Godswill is the one with the name Will. Please spotlight Tara and Will. Thank you very much. These are our speakers. I have two of them in the room. Thank you very much, Tara, for joining. And thank you, Godswill, for choosing to do this. Thank you so much, Godswill, because it was a very short notice. I do not take this for granted. I truly, truly, truly appreciate your kindness. Thank you very much. Okay, I just want to check again. I have JAS from Canada. Thank you, Jazz from Canada. Thank you for joining in. Yes, so I'm going to bring up Tara and Godswill just to introduce themselves. Just introduce yourselves and let us know about you and what you do, then we continue the session. Thank you, Will. Thank you so much. Okay, so can we have Tara first? Tara, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone.
I've been on her neck, so I appreciate it. I've been on her neck. Thank you so much, Tara. I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Tara Ishida. I'm a lawyer by training, and I specialize in family law, probate law, administration of estates, and I do quite a lot of stuff, so I'm glad to be here today. And I'm hopeful that we'll have a good chat. I hope the noise is not from my end because the fan is on and I don't know. Is it from my end? There's some static that I can hear.
No, I'm not hearing any noise.
Okay, fine.
Your
fine.
audio is very clear.
Great.
Your audio is very clear.
So I'll be speaking on.
Yeah, yeah, thank you very much, Tara, for joining. Okay, so Will, can we have you?
Hi, my name is Godswill.
Hello.
If you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Fantastic. I'm an investment banker by profession. I'm not a lawyer, like I said the last time, but I'm an investment person. So I'm going to be talking based on execution and practical experiences that I've had in trust issues and managing trust funds. Maybe that will help us a little bit. I will just be tagging along Sarah, who is a lawyer. This is your zone. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Okay, am I back?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I think I went off for some minutes. So thank you very much. Like I announced, we'll be talking about planning for our future as regards will and trust. I want to start this conversation by saying that, please, guys, our reality, remember, I always say that our realities are different. So please be ready to ask questions. Be ready to ask your questions as it relates to your needs, right? Be ready to ask your questions as relates to your needs because our realities are different. So wills and trust fund. Let's start with Godswill. What do you understand by the two of them, wills and trust fund? What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, if you understand the way I like to take my classes, I like to make things a little bit stupid and simple. Okay. I think the major difference I can see from a practical point of view is the fact that will is something that benefits people who are living. Eventually, you put that in place for the living. Okay. It can only be brought to bear in terms of implementation when the person who drafted the will is no longer available to see to what will happen when he is passed. Okay. But when it comes to trust, you have different levels of trust. You have a living trust. You have trust that tries to mirror the will, but it has more statistics as to what should be done and how it should be done when you're not there. Again, a trust can also be a trust that can be executed even while you're still alive. You can put in place a trust and see be available around to make it easier and simple, but it removes your feeling, it removes your social engagement around the implement. Yes, it removes all that and creates it more like a business. Okay, I guess the lawyers will have a better language for it, but like I said, the will is only executed when the person who wrote no more. a trust doesn't have to be executed when the person is no more. It can be alive and can be executed. And again, under the trust, you have a public trust and then you have a private trust. So these are some of the areas that I can see different. But eventually, they both exist to solve the same problem, which is benefit of people for assets in terms of estate planning of what happens to those assets or to those properties. I think the idea is beginning with the end in mind. What do we want to achieve with these assets? I think in that area, they are quite common, but one is only executed when I'm not around. One can be executed when you're around. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, so you're saying that one can be executed when you're around or when you're not around.
Yeah, one can be executed when you're around.
Trust, right?
Trust. Yeah, the trust. And trust can quickly live in trust, meaning that I'm still around, but I want to see how my assets and properties are being distributed or used while I'm here. But you put it in the hand of them, put it in the hand of an organization called a trustee business. Or it can even be in the hand of individuals that you have put together that you call a trust fund or trusteeship process. It doesn't have to be a firm. It can be individuals who decide that they're going to stand to manage that trust through third parties. Okay, but you're alive, but you just want to remove yourself from that process because as a human being, it may be a bit, half feeling around, getting what, who's not getting what. And then that can be cloud the process of administration. So when you put in a trust, you're bringing yourself out and bringing to bear the fiduciary responsibility under that trust. I think that's basically what it is. Thank you.
Interesting. I'll still ask questions around that because I'm just thinking in my mind, why will I want to put my property in the hands of somebody when I'm still alive? You know, that kind of a thing. So, but I'm still gonna ask. Let's hear from Tara what will is and what trust is. Thank you.
First of all, I'll answer the question that you just asked. Why do I want to put my property in the hands of someone when I'm still alive? There are lots of reasons why people do that, and I agree with all that Will has said. You see, because one, you remove the emotions from the supervision of your estate. Two, you are in the advantage position to see how that estate will run without your direct involvement, you know. And also, if you see, like you said earlier, so there's irrevocable trust and there's revocable trust. So if you do a revocable trust, for example, you still have the option to meddle a bit in it. But also, you know, it also goes for tax purposes. You know, sometimes you'll be surprised that if you put your property in trust, you know, especially when it's being used and especially when you die, you'll find that you might not have to pay so much to the government as inheritance tax. And of course, most importantly, the assets that are under the trusts do not go through probate most times. And probate can be very expensive and very, it can take time, you know, in any crime. So what's a will? Oh, so I think I've answered that question too. I know you have, my answer has been some other questions, but I'll leave that for now and I just go to what a will is. And a will is a testamentary document or a legal document that someone makes, you know, to express their wishes as to how they want their estate, their property, their whatever they have, how they want them to be administered or carried out when they die. A trust, like Will said, is something that the settlor, the settlor is that's the word we use, you know. It's an arrangement whereby he gives the trustee the right to hold and manage his assets for the benefit of a purpose or for a people. And the trust can be limited to only the lifetime of the settlor or can continue after his death. So that's what, but all this, both a trust and a will are subject to a lot of legislation and rules, especially the will, because we have the Wills Act, and wills are, because they are legal, in the sense, trusts too are legal, but in the sense that they're legal, they're supervised by regulatory law. And so they must be done in, or they must be executed in a particular way. They must follow certain conditions, before you can say you've written a will. So that's what, that's the definition of a will and a trust for now.
Okay. So I would say that for will, I understand it. But for this trust, so why is it that those rich people, those ones that had companies or industries and all those stuff, why is it that they are not educated enough to know that they can put it under a trust fund? Because we notice that there's some family business that they have no succession, and you hear about those businesses and you just later you don't hear anything, and they say it's because the man dies or the woman is no more and the children are not interested in the business. Is it that people are not educated to understand how it works? Because I'm just wondering. And the second question is, so when we talk about trust, because when I introduced it, the knowledge of it I have is trust fund for children. Is it still part of this trust we're talking about? Will?
You'll be shocked that a lot of wealthy people are involved in trust. Okay. It took a long time. I mean, even when I heard that I was going to be talking about trust, I was kind of pleasantly surprised because my many years of being in banking and doing investment banking, all the meetings I've ever attended around trust is primarily by the people you would consider wealthy people. Okay. Principally, one of the reasons why it looks like some of them are not able to engage in these trust issues is just like the name is trust.
Just like the question she asked.
Yeah. The reason why a lot of them they don't worry, nobody wants to die, nobody wants to. Okay. So more often than not, a lot of rich people manage their business with debt. So, like you said, why will I want to put in the trust when I'm still alive? And that's actually the bias of a lot of people, especially wealthy people. But again, the lawyers will also explain there are a lot of family offices in Africa and in London or America where I reside right now. Say there are a lot of businesses that are managed by the family office. It's not a discussion for today. Family office has a one leg inside the family and one leg inside the trust. Okay, so but what has happened is a lot of people haven't done it. Doesn't mean okay. One of the major problem why a lot of people assets disappear after they are gone is one thing that's going to form the crux of the discussion today. Will is not good enough, like what trust can do. I have practical experiences from an execution point of view where as a young banker, a will is being executed and I say, this 10 million naira belongs to A so that he can take care of his children. Okay? Another 10 million naira is signed to B so that he can take care of mama. 1 year after the will is executed, you will be shocked that there's no more money to even go to any school. And that's where will stops, that's where trust comes to help. Because trust has terms of execution. Okay? Terms of execution under the trust is what says this money is not available to you until you're 21. It's not even available to you at the entire amount. We can give you 25%. Only when you get married, we'll give you the next 25%. Even when you get married, the remaining 15%, you will not touch it until your children is good enough to go to school. And the money for their school will be paid directly to the schools where they are going. You see what trust is doing? There are elements of will that does this, okay? But you cannot separate the will execution from the emotional point of view, where I have money for education, but my mind is sick, okay? So you see money made for education, they will not gather in the front of the man who is supposed to execute, who is an uncle. You say one of our children is sick. Meanwhile, the will was written there for my children's education. You discover money for education is not diverted to go and solve a health problem. But you know, trust is like the law. It does not know any face. It follows the terms of the trust, even if somebody is dying. Okay? So I think one of the major differences and why a lot of people are shy around that is the risk management framework around the two. One of them has so much risk burden. Why the trust has come to create a more solid, better risk management framework of ensuring that the purpose of this asset and this estate is followed to the letter. But more importantly, which is where the investment comes in, if you look at many funds and assets under a trust, it is not kept in a drawer and locked up. Most of the trust assets are being managed by the trusteeship companies with acquiring interest and dividends and capital gain over time, which is not always happening around with. More often than not, remember what happened once somebody dies, for you who lives in Lagos, and you're living in a house, 4 flats that is owned by mama, and he dies. Suddenly you have 4 landlords. Okay? You have 4 landlords because each flat is owned by different of the children. Okay? Suddenly one of them says, I can't be owning a house when I'm hungry. So what does he do? He put it up for sale. And then he sells his own, he walks away. 1 year, 2 years after he sells it, because what we are doing here is really execution, he comes back to where he started even before the money was given to him. I think these are some of the things the trust has come to help out with. Maybe Tara will put more light from a lawyer's perspective. I'm giving you from an investment banker perspective of what I see are the drawbacks and setbacks for these two. Thank you very much, Tara.
Yes, you are right.
It's just sorry, Tara. Before you respond, it's just amazing how that I'm just hearing about trust, even me, and it's interesting. I get something from what Godswill said, that trust is not emotional. Will can be emotional, and that's why trust is preferable. Guys, please, I need you to ask your questions. But before asking questions, I think I want to just leave the two of you to educate us generally, so that we have our questions, we have direction. I really do. So that our questions, we have direction now. So Tara, I yield the mic to you so that you educate us. And Will, you also build on the conversation you started after she's done. So I want Tara to talk about Will, while Godswill will talk about the trust, so that we can have a broader picture and a clearer picture of all this. And Tara, you can also at least buttress the conversation around trust, since you are a lawyer and you understand how these things work. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll use the laws of Lagos State because that's where I am, and it provides statutory backing for the power of any person to dispose of their property. Now, Section 4.1 of the laws says that a will must be in writing. So that's one thing that you have to think about. A will must be in writing. But first of all, before I even go into that, the conditions and requirements of a valid will. The first thing is the person making the will. How old is the person? What kind of mental capacity does the person have? So the testator, that's the name for the person that makes a will, must be at least 18 years of age, must be of sound mind, and he must not have been seen to have written the will under any form of duress or undue influence. or neither must they have been mistaken at the time of, writing the will as to its content. So it must have the requisite memory and understanding and capacity, to write a will. And, that's the very basic of it. Now, like I said earlier, the will must be in writing. So it's written, by his hand, or it's printed out, it's typed out. Now, unfortunately, we don't have oral wills here in Nigeria, except for people that are going to war, maybe like a soldier going straight into war, then he can scribble something. Do you understand? But real wills must be in writing, or he can record or say something, and then maybe go to war, and then maybe he's dead or whatever. But so the wills must be in writing. Now, execution is quite technical when it comes to will. The testator must execute it, and when I mean execute, is either he signs or your appendix is thumbprint on that will. He could either sign, or he could either direct somebody to sign for him, but that person must sign for him in his presence. So the person is not signing behind him, and then the execution, the signature must be done in the presence of two witnesses who must sign at the same time. So it can't be that, one witness was in the room when he was signing, but they were in the parlor. No, both witnesses must see him sign, must witness that signature, as he was signing, and then both of them too must sign in the presence of each other. So that's it. Then the witnesses also can't be beneficiaries of the will, except maybe for his wife, but it's better that they be people that don't have any stake in that will. The will, what the will does, and I will give you just a small format of the will. The testator decides on who his executors will be, and the executors are the people given the authority to administer the will. And they in law, you should have a minimum of 2, a maximum of 4. Your executors could be human, or they could be a company. So you could have people, or you could have a company as an executor. Now, I must say too that when it comes to trust, you can create a trust within your will. That's possible. So we can talk about that, but I'm just giving you the format of the will. And so the executor, or the testator rather, names the executors. He gives their names, their addresses. Then he lists out the assets that he has, and they include anything that the testator has, whether clothes, real estate, pension funds, jewelry, cars, whatever, shares, whatever. Then it lists out the details of the beneficiaries, and then how he wants. Sorry, there's a bit of noise. I don't know if it's me. And then how we want to.
Sorry, I think it's from my end.
Okay. Then now we want the assets to be distributed. So we will put the names of the people, that, the beneficiaries, and how much. It should be specific, So it all should be, if he has 5 properties, he should specify the property. If it's in one place, okay, the flat upstairs should be given to so-so person. The flat downstairs should be given to so-so person. The house at address so should be given to this person. And then you can even tell, okay, this flat must be given to 2 or 3 people. Whatever way he wants to distribute his assets, he must put it there. And then there will be the details of the witnesses, their names, their addresses, their occupations, that's all. Basically, that's what a will is all about. Like I said earlier, it can create a trust within that will. So it can say, that this property, for example, must not be sold, and that the executors should ensure that rent from the property is distributed amongst so beneficiaries. Once he does that, he's created a trust already, without even saying it, because that means that until the property will not be sold, and it will be the executors that will manage that property for the beneficiaries that have been stated. Now, a will can be amended, you know. So there are two ways to change your will. You can either execute a codicil, which is like an amendment. It, amends it, it alters the original will. So the will is still in subsistence, but the codicil just takes a part of it and just changes and says, okay, maybe, let's see, maybe, let me give an example of one that I did that comes to mind. The man gave the property to the wife, and then he thought to himself, if the wife died, what happens to that property if she didn't sell it? So he did a codicil so that, I've given the property to my wife, but when she dies, the property should go to so and so person. You understand? So it didn't change much of the will, but it explained the will. And then also you can withdraw a will. You can do your will. You can wake up every morning and do a fresh will. Do you understand? You can withdraw it from the probate registry or from your lawyer and say, no, this my son, I talked to him yesterday, he was not he abused me or he disrespected me, I'm going to remove him from my list. So you can do that as many times. Now, there are advantages to the will, and the major advantage to a will is that your wishes are carried out. You try and set out your affairs as much as possible. So because if you don't do that, if you don't write a will, you allow other people and certain individuals to interfere with your assets in a way that you might not like. So it's putting your affairs in order, so that everybody at least knows, that this is the way you want your estate to be administered. Now, that's not to say that a will cannot be contested. Wills can, and they do, are contested, basically on the basis of it's being unfair, there was a fraud, it's suspicious, or that the testator was unduly influenced, or that he didn't have the right capacity at the time of making the will. So maybe, for example, it was a will came out after the man died, and when the will was supposed to have been made, the man was in a coma. So people will now say, what kind of will is this? Do you understand? Or maybe everybody knew the contents of his will. He told everybody, this is who I'm giving this property to, that, and then he dies, and then they find out that the property that he said he was giving to this person is gotten by somebody else. So those are the things. And of course, wills can be, once they are taken to court and they are contested, the court looks at it and it can either say, oh, this will was validly done, or it can set aside the will. And once the will is set aside, then parties go to administration. So it's as if there was no will done at all. So it's best that you must put your house in order properly and ensure that what you've done it properly. So a lot of people, to that effect, to show that, oh, they're the ones that made those wills, they were in the right capacity, do a lot of video recording nowadays to show, that, oh, while Daddy was signing the will, he understood what the will was all about. He could comprehend properly what he wrote, and this is his will. A lot of people to put courses in anybody that contests this will be course, will be done, things like that, they put in the will. So, but one of the major disadvantages of having a will is the fact that it would go through probate. So once you have a will and the person dies, that's not the final thing. That will still be submitted to the government, and the government would, admit it into probate. Now that takes a lot of time. You are going to have to pay lawyer fees. You're going to pay inheritance tax. You're going to pay a lot of things to the government, and it takes time. For that, at least you're looking at, let's say, nothing less than, if the earliest you can get it out in Lagos, let me see, maybe 4-6 months. most times it's over a year, especially if there's property involved. Because if there's property involved, you'll go value it, you pay an assessment of that valuation, a percentage rather of the valuation. And most times people don't even have the money at hand, to pay to pay the government. So a lot of things are stalled. Now, another why wills are not the disadvantages of wills is that it's once the man dies and is admitted into probate, it's a public document. I can go to the probate registry and apply for a certified true copy of anybody's will and see what is in it. You understand? So, which is different from trust, because the trust is a private thing. Nobody needs to know. Nobody has to know the inner workings of the trust arrangement. So that's basically the two. So I would give my advice later when we go through. But I also wanted to say,
yes, please.
I forgot
Okay.
before I started that in Nigeria I do know, for example, that Gani Fawehinmi did a trust, with First Bank trustees, I think, over his company, because he was one of the foremost publishers of legal precedents and case law. So his company, the Nigerian Legal Law Printing Company, I'm not too sure about the name now, but I know it's Nigeria Weekly Law Reports, we call it. I don't know whether that's the name of the company. It's been administered even up till now, by I think First Trustees. I think it's a trust department of the First Bank, and they administer the company. So that company is thriving years after he's dead, because it's not in the hands of private individuals, especially his children, who might not have the capacity and the acumen to run the business the way he would have run it. But also I must say that it depends on, when you look at wills and trusts, it depends on what you have, because sometimes to put all your assets in a trust company or in a trust, if you don't have enough assets to cover, it might not be worth it for you. You understand? Because basically, if your asset is not large enough, it might be more expensive to put money into a trust for your beneficiary. So I'll stop there now and allow Godswill to go on.
All right, thank you very much. I will come to the explanation that you made. I want to ask a question like, why would somebody say the man was not in his right mind? Are you the man? And they would now contest a will that somebody wrote. What if? How do you judge that? How do you ascertain that?
It's easy to judge. Like I told you, for example, if someone was in coma or if somebody, for example, had Alzheimer, the dementia, do you understand? He can't remember all the things that he has. In fact, some of the things that he put in his will are things that he sold long ago, but he doesn't even know. Those are things that, or he was sick and, maybe he had brain cancer or something that made him act irrational, because of the pressure of the cancer on his brain. So there's so many reasons why, a will can be validly contested, or
So
writing is not in characteristic, it's not keeping to the character of the person. He has caught people that were so close to him away, and everybody is wondering what doesn't match the image of the person they know.
Okay, so Tara, I think what I'm getting from what you're saying now is that we should do our will when we are agile enough. And you have also said that we can always rewrite, we can always rewrite it, correct it, adjust it, and all that.
You can do anything.
So the learning,
the person dies.
Okay, so the learning from it now is for everyone that is here, we should not wait till we are old and you can't even say what happens and you become sick or something happened. You can write it and be reviewing and rewriting and renewing before you, at least you will know that at some point you have something written down, right? Thank you very much, Tara. Thank you so much. Godswill, I heard you said something, and I want you to really educate us. Everything you have on ground to discuss with us, I want you to, at this session, I want you to take it up and explain everything. But I heard you said something when you were explaining trust fund, to say that with trust fund, there is interest on it. Did I get that right?
Yes, you
Okay,
did.
so that means the person put it in trust and the person is yielding more money, and it is being in, that means the organization, if it is money, that means the organization use it just like they do with shares. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Oh, wow. So please now, I want you to just give us everything you have on ground as regards trust. And I want us to please, as many that are in the room that have questions, you can raise your electronic hand or you can drop in the chat session so that we can respond so that our guests can respond to the question. Remember, our realities are different. And this is the reason why you should ask questions as it relates to you. So Godswill, please take us through what trust, from where you stop, the fact that they invest with it. Trust is not emotional. They can't just come to say, okay, I want to, okay, you say it's revocable.
Yeah.
Okay, so just take us through. Is it that there's a specific one that is revocable and there are ones that are irrevocable and all that? Please throw light into all that for us. Thank you very much.
Okay. Just like Tara said, every legal document must obey the terms of the legal document. Every legal document is fluid and malleable. You have quite a lot of trust that once you make a trust and irrevocable document, you're more like playing God. You are now playing God, okay? Because even the person who is administrating trust, nobody is sure he'll be around tomorrow, okay? So every legal document, to a large extent, the reason why we make documents revocable, irrevocable, is you are trying to address a certain risk element. That's the reason. There's a risk you foresee, and then you make it irrevocable because I do not throw this my children. Okay? But when it comes to trust has terms of execution. Say, it's got to be fluid, it's got to be malleable, but there are certain elements of the trust that are core. Core means they are hardcore. For instance, I have seen some public trust who says we are taking over some schools in the village. Okay? And what do they mean by taking over this? We want to adopt this school as part of the trust beneficiaries. Okay? And every year we want to ensure that the library of these schools are equipped and re-equipped annually with the sum of 5 million naira each. That's core. Okay? That's very core. No matter what happens, that must happen. Okay? When it comes to trust administration, there's something Tara said that I also want to delve into a little bit. If you look at everything Tara has said, it becomes even scary. Scary to want to write a will. But that shouldn't scare anybody. Okay? That shouldn't scare anybody. There are so many organizations now who you can stay in the comfort of your room, right? And do what I would call a preliminary will with less than 5K. Okay? There are online will writing, online and life has changed. It's no more how it used to be before. Things have moved a little bit faster. The only thing that I feel is a scam, pardon my language, is the level of money that must be made from executing a will when a man is dead by the government who is supposed to protect the family. And that's one area that Sarah and their group need to sit down as a lawyer and sort it out. It doesn't make any sense, and that's one of the things, trust. Let me tell you, the wealthy men always find a way to scam the system. Okay? If you look at wealthy individuals who do a lot of investment, they say, well, we don't pay tax. And then the man on the street who is working, earning 50K, the tax that is collecting by IRS is almost 40%. But the wealthy man who makes a billion, he's probably not even paying. In short, he's the one taxing government. Okay? So trust is another way that the wealthy community has found loopholes to protect. One of the major things the trust do is asset protection. As a matter of fact, anytime you think about trust, think of asset protection. Okay? That's one of the things that had happened around trust, protecting the assets. Let me explain more what I mean by that. Asset protection by trust, like I said, you put your money in a trust fund managed by trustees. You discover that 5 years down the line, the trustees' account has even doubled. And they're probably not, they are just exposed to maybe a withholding tax at that point in time. But the trust is moving forward. Why the people who did will are still fighting? Okay, the people who did will are still fighting. The guy who did trust is already getting more return on investment. So trust is also not very expensive these days, because now you have a lot of trustee organizations, like Sarah mentioned Fresh Trustees. Fresh Trust is one of the foremost trustee companies in Nigeria, and there are so many trustees. I'm sure there are probably more, close to 12, 15 of them right now. And the cost of opening an account in a trustee business is like a mini bank. We may be 2 million or 5 million naira to open an account in a trustee firm. But one of the critical things around that is the fact that it helps you in a matter of urgency to ensure that one of the areas where the will is failing, trust has come to help out. Okay? One of the areas, I think personally, don't take my word for it, Sarah is the lawyer, she can explain better, but I would say from an administrator of a trust, some of the issues you mentioned here are not always found around trust. So it makes trust a bit easier and easy to implement. Why? One of the reasons why it's like that is that the trustee firm has gone ahead to fight the system for the protection of people they are managing their assets. Did you get what I mean by that? They have gone ahead to provide modalities, models. There are some things they don't like. They are regulated by SEC. They go to SEC and fight it and get it out. There are certain things they don't like. They go to CD and write later. Before you know it, there's an adjustment made in the documentations for the benefit of the account they are managing, because they want to make more profit. But in trying to make more profit for themselves, they have indirectly protected the owners of all the trusts under their custody. Okay? That is one of the advantages that you have around trust. Okay? One of the exciting things I will also say here around trust is I am excited. I'm a fan of a living trust. I'm so much of a fan of a living trust. Where you are alive. I'm going to give you a typical example. In Nigeria, we're fortunate enough that a woman or a man has worked so hard. When he's old, the children can take papa to come and live with them. Children can take mama to come and live with them. Okay? And they will be taking care of mama, even though they are living in mama's house. Okay? So all mama is interested in is if I eat in the morning, eat in the evening, eat in the afternoon. But what she's indirectly living on is her wealth. Okay? So the day they will also sell the house without mama knowing, okay, because at that time mama is not alive, but she's incapacitated. Like she said about You have dementia, you have Alzheimer. Now, at that condition, you are left under the guidance of family and friends. Okay? But let's flip it for a trust. If I'm living and I put my assets under a trust, like I said, it's not emotional. The trust, because they are managing for my benefit. I may get to a level where they move me by virtue of what is going on in my trust account. I may be getting the best of the results. It is time to get me a new bed, I get a new bed. It is time for me to get a wheelchair, I get a new wheelchair automatically. It is time for me to make an adjustment here and there. Those adjustments are made almost automatically because the trustee is doing it for the benefit of the owner of that living trust. So I think for me, I'm not saying for and against. Okay, I'm not changing to say it's better to do will or it's better to do trade. It's about the journey you are on. Okay, at some point in your journey, what is best for you in that journey is a will. But at some point in your journey, you may decide that what is best for you is a trust. I never even knew about this story Tara said. I'm excited about it on Gani Pawini. You know, I'm just trying for the first time. I didn't know. Okay, no wonder when you go there, that company, I know the place very well in Alausa, they paint that place almost every 3 years. It's looking squeaky clean. No wonder. But I can tell you, if it was one Lagbaja that it was willed to, by now, the dust would have killed us two places. Okay? So in closing, in closing, I would rather say your journey means what is best for you. But more importantly, I like what you are doing here. You cannot have this kind of conversation here as a member who is here and not be more educated to emerge with a better journey so that you know the best thing to do at each point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Godswill. I noticed that you tried to play safe, and that question has been on my mind to say that with all the grammar that the lawyer has blown through us about some of the implications and not so palatable thing about the will, can we say that it's better to go for trust, especially as we understand? Because I was going to ask Tara a question. Why you're saying that for a will, before the will is implemented, it's at some point it's become the government property. You still have to pay some money. This is the same property, and the money that you earn, your hard-earned money that you have paid tax, they have paid tax on. They have collected, because you put borehole in your house, they have collected money for drilling borehole in your house. They have collected revenue. They have collected. When the will is now supposed to be implemented, they are now coming to collect something again. Tara, what are you people doing to us now?
Well,
so if we're going to vote for or against now, I would say, we are voting for.
No, it depends, you see, because really you can have both a will and a living trust. It's possible because they cater for two different things. You know, a will allows you to do things like maybe name guardians for your children, appoint executors for your estate, declare your final wishes. A trust, you know, is for the management and distribution of your assets during your lifetime and after your death. So there's the possibility that you can do the two at the same time. And both are not really complex, you know, but for the trust, from my own understanding, you must have at least a sizable estate, you know, to be put into trust. You know, it's not everybody. A trust will not work for everybody. A trust will not work for somebody that doesn't have an asset that they are managing or distributing. What are you putting your what will you even put? What would the trustees manage?
Your book.
You must have something manageable, you understand, for you to go into trust. So if you don't have that, then a will work for you. But you see, the thing about wills is that they're good. I'm not saying they're not good, but you can work your way around a will, around the difficulties of a will. And I'll give an example. The number one thing that comes to my mind, for example, is money in the bank. So the will, yes, you won't get the money on time because you have to go through probate. Whereas the trust, yes, you might be able to get money on time. But if you put today that we have internet banking, if you put the details of your internet banking on a piece of paper somewhere in your room, and you tell everybody, this is my whatever, when I die, take my money, you've taken your money. Do you understand? So you don't need, the will will not have to go into probate. Do you understand? For that to happen.
Yeah.
If you don't have a sizable estate and you have a property, you can do a deed of gift to your children or whatever. Do you understand? That transfers that asset to that person, the beneficiary, your child, in your lifetime. Do you understand? So maybe the property was bought in your name and you say, oh, I want to give this property to my child. You can do a deed of gift. You will pay to the government, but it won't be as much as if you are doing a deed of assignment or if you are buying property and you give that child in your lifetime. So that estate, that property, for example, will not be part of your estate anymore. So the government has nothing to do with it. Do you understand? So there are different ways of circumventing the problems and the disadvantages of wills. But as we've all said, it has to be what is your particular circumstance, that would help you decide whether you should have a will, a living trust, or maybe even have both, because it's possible to have both.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Tara and Godswill. I truly appreciate this exposition. We have two questions in the chat. Three questions, but two of them are the same. The first one says, please give us a list of trustee companies in Nigeria, especially the online interactive ones. I don't know if you have that list readily here.
I don't have the list, but I'm sure it's something you can Google.
Google. Yeah, I was going to say
exactly.
that.
Exactly.
Iretiolua, please, you might want to type that question in Google, and I'm sure that it will pop up. But before we leave here, if any of us can do that and just drop for us in the chat session. The other question is, what minimum level of assets must you have to set up a trust? And when does it make sense to set up a trust fund? And that's the same question Bolaji is asking. Godswill, do you want to respond to that question? Maybe Tara will now come in from the perspective of a lawyer.
Okay, there's a way I told I'm an investment banker. There are ways you can drink wine on the price of Coke, and that's one thing that I think we need to find out. Let me give you an instance. I remember many years ago, a lot of organizations do not take investments, a lot of banks, less than a particular sum. Maybe at that time, 9 million, 10 million, 10 million. But one of the easiest ways to put money in those organizations is by starting a banking relationship. Okay? If you want to place money in GT and they say their minimum investment is 5 million, what you need to do is first open an account with GT Bank. Don't go to GT Bank and say, I want to have this deposit. And then when they give you the form, you see 5 million written on it. You say, I don't qualify, you walk away. But the day you develop a relationship with GT Bank, you'll be shocked that the day you send a mail to your account officer, he will place your 500K into the deposit. I'm a banker, and I can tell you that for free. Okay? So a trustee can tell you that a minimum amount to set up a trustee is 5 million naira. But you know what? You'll be shocked also that they run like a bank, so they take deposit. They're not coming for a trustee service. Okay? You're just here because I have 1 million naira I want to invest. You invest 1 million naira. The day you show up as a customer and discuss that, how does this trustee work? They will give you all the information of a trustee. And that 5 million barrier, what am I saying? You think like a business guy when you want to do this type of stuff. Okay? There are trustees, fresh trustees can open account with you without having a trustee thing you want to do, just because they take fixed deposits. Okay? They take advisory services. What do I call advisory services? Every time a trustee takes people money, invest it in different levels of asset management funds. Okay? So they are custodian of people's funds. And let me tell you, one of the reasons why I like the trustees, sometimes there are trustees that have a custody arrangement with banks. Okay? What do I mean by that? All the assets under the trustee is not residing in the trustee. It's residing in another organization that supervises how the assets at the trustee is used, called a custody arrangement. So what it does for the trustee, it creates a second layer of protection. Remember what I told you about trustee? Asset protection. But the question is, who is supervising the man who has my asset? So a lot of other trustees have created a stronger brand for themselves, yeah, and say, I want you to sell you my trustee services. But it may help you to know that all your assets is under the custody of UBA or Zenith Bank. Because Zenith Bank is a ₦1 trillion company. It's not your money they are going to close for. UBA is a ₦1 trillion. So when you come to First Trustees, you discover that all the assets being managed on behalf of families is under the custody arrangement of Zenith Bank and UBA, where those funds are being managed on behalf of the asset or trust holder. Okay, that's the second level. So for that reason, I would rather things are easier. Like Sarah said, if you Google First Trustee, I'm sure sitting down here, somebody can open an account with First Trustee without having to call anybody. You have First Trustee, you have STL, you have even CSCS is offering trustees arrangement. You have Greenwich Trustees, you have about 15, but you can focus your energy on the first 10, because I know the first 10 are online driven. Somebody talked about online, meaning you don't need to show up. You Google, you open, some of them have an app. You Google, you download the app, you ask questions. If it's 500,000 naira, can you use to open an account? Please don't say never. I remember many years ago, a lot of us couldn't open an account with Zenith Bank, or a lot of us couldn't open an account with GT Bank. Very many years ago, a lot of us, if you want to show up in Zenith Bank, they tell you if you don't have ₦1 million, you can't open an account with us. Today, I'm sure opening an account with those banks are free. Okay? The same thing has happened to every financial service provider today in Nigeria. So, my dear, if you're interested in a trustee, you don't have the money, show up with 10K. Somebody will open an account for you, trustee. When you have finished opening the account, you can now begin to discuss how to open a trustee. And you'll be shocked to know that with a 500K, somebody is willing to start a trusteeship relationship with you the way. I'm not going to call any name because this is not a platform to begin to call this name, but I'm telling you what I know. So if you try it, you'll be sure that it's going to happen for you. I think basically that's what it is. Thank you.
Wow, this is so insightful, and I've learned a lot today. Thank you so much, Godswill, and thank you so much, Tara. There's a question in the chat sessions which says, would a probate be required even after the deceased has left a will spelling out who gets what?
Yes.
Tara, I think you want to respond to that question.
Definitely, yes. A probate will be required even after a will, and that's why I said that's one of the disadvantages of having a will. You know, you still have to go. The will must be admitted into probate, and
I remember you said something like that.
5% to 10% of the value of that estate to the government.
What is that money for? Why is government collecting?
Must
they collect from everything?
Everywhere. There's death tax, even in the developed world, inheritance tax. So it's everywhere. It's not here. It's not only here.
Okay.
You know? So let me even give another example. You know, I told you about a gift of deed for property. I told you about getting internet banking details you know, if it's a problem, if it's a joint account, and a joint account that either can sign. Do you understand? You don't, if your spouse will not need letters of probate or administration to administer that account, so far as it is any of you can sign. If it is both of you can sign, then you need letters of administration or probate for that. Do you understand? But if it's any of you can sign, then that's another way of, you know, going, circumventing probate. Do you understand? And then also companies, because companies don't go under probate, they're not your personal estate. Do you understand? Your shares are, but the company's account is not. So if you get a lawyer, they will tell you what to do more about when it comes to companies. But those are the little ways that, you know, you can circumvent probate.
Wow. Thank you very much, Tara, for that response. And thank you so much once again, Godswill. Godswill, my question to you now is, I remember when you were talking the other time, you said something about, so there was an example you cited about if a trust has stated that so amount should be given to a school, like adding a school to your trust and all that, just to support the growth of the school. So my question now is that like 100% assurance that if you put your business or company or whatever into a trust, that it yields? You know, there are some companies that over time you just know that it's not functioning again or something. Yeah, I'm a layman. I'm asking questions like a layman.
A layman that is concerned about interest. Of course, nothing is second step. But let Godswill answer the question.
Because you know, you said something about, what's that word you use? Like a fixed something when you were making that when you were giving that illustration, like even if they don't make up to that amount again, and there's this school that they have promised, do they have to still fulfill that? So that's why my question. That's my question. Yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to tell you. I'm going to answer this with my personal experience. You know, I'm going to talk about myself. I have a small experience around this, and I have been a member of some board of trustees. Still a member of board of trustees. Nobody plays God. Nobody plays God to say, if you put it in my hand, I can guarantee that this will happen. But you can be assured.
Please, is there any phone there? I'm looking for my phone.
The highest level of professionalism. You know, when Tara and I was talking, we kept talking about emotion. I'm sure we have mentioned that word more than 10 times in this discussion. Yeah. One of the things that I believe that these trustees are doing, first, they are a firm. Let me use, for example, first trustees. First trustees, I don't know how old they are in this business, but I figure first trustees should not be less than 5 years in the business of trusteeship. Okay? So they have a strong brand to protect. They have a brand to protect. If you look at people they have hired to do this business, you will see high level of professionals who have spent many years to be in that business. So they also have their names as standard to protect. So when you put your trust in that space, you're probably putting it in the hands of organization that has close to 250 years experience, cumulative experience of all the people who are managing that fund. So there are high level of responsibility imposed on them at that point in time to ensure that everything they have promised they would do, they are bound to do. For instance, First Bank is among First Bank, who is the principal or the senior parent company of First Trustees, more than 100 years. Okay, they've been around for more than 100 years. So if they have been around for more than 100 years, that gives an idea of a First Trustee who is their subsidiary can do. So it means that a high level of risk element that has been reduced when you put your faith on that. So I can guarantee that whilst they may not be able to tell you that your company will be there for 100 years, but they will do everything humanly possible or company possible to ensure that the firm that is put in their hand stays to accomplish the reason why it was put in place. I am here to hear. Anyway, let me summarize. I'm here to hear today. Sarah maybe is a litigation lawyer. I'm here to hear today that a particular trustee firm in Nigeria is in court today because they failed to administer the trust agreement they had with a particular firm. I'm here to see. There may be implementation issues where they go to maybe a trustee administrative lawyer to decide why you were supposed to pay us last year, you paid us this year, you wasted time in paying us. Those are things that have been involved in scenes where you were supposed to invest this money in a money market fund minimum. We observed that last year the money was in the bank account, or no investment was arrived. Can you explain to us why that happened? Those are the kind of things you hear under a trusteeship. Okay, so I will say that to a large extent, maybe 70% of the time they have done judiciary what they're supposed to do for organizations and individuals they have managed their firm. 70%. I may not be able to say more than that. Thank you. You're muted.
Did they direct any question to me? Oh.
No, she's muted.
Okay.
I can't hear her.
Thank you. I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I was saying that thank you so much. This has been an insightful session, and I really appreciate the fact that we decided to take these topics, and it's been a beautiful one, at least for our generation. Let's get educated. Don't let us walk in dark, and we are just using our money and putting it somewhere, and some people are just slapping us and banging our head and using our money for business, and they are not giving us. This is just the lawyers that I'm angry with right now. because I can't imagine why the government and the lawyer will be collecting money from somebody's will.
But the trustees too are making money. They're not doing it for
they are making money, and they are also giving us, like, we have dividends. They are giving us interests.
They're not doing it for free.
I must add, Ebu, don't forget, let me tell you, if you remove the government from Wales, see, the money they are collecting is a far cry compared to what the crisis moment we look like.
They are aborting.
They are like an habitat. They are like protecting everybody. Okay? It costs a lot of time to administer those documents. So what you're really paying is the timing and the process. Right? I may not be able to justify these are how much they are collecting, or how. I don't want to go into that. But if you remove that element from administration of will, now Google the settle the matter.
In fact, everybody
anarchy. You remember what happened to one building in Ikorodu Road that Bobby Johnson or something?
Bobby Benson.
Yeah. Bobby Benson. You also remember the one happened in Maryland, something Jesu. All those properties have been taken. Yeah, all those properties have been taken over by Lagos State government, right?
Wow.
Because there was no hidden will for anybody to talk about. See the price that these families have paid.
Let me just put that in, because you see, where there's no will, the government can take over the property and administer the property. The Administrator General of the state can administer that property. And if they find out that, like Bobby Benson's property, that it's being used for purposes that are against the public safety, they can take over the property. So we have properties or some estates in Lagos presently that the Administrator General, because there's infighting amongst the family, has taken over the properties. They will rent it out. They will take their own management fees, and then they would divide it amongst the known beneficiaries. So that happens. That's one of the disadvantages of infighting and of not making a will. So
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you so much. Thank you, Godswill, once again. And thank you, Tara, for this beautiful session. Thank you for your time. Guys, do we have any other question from the house before we call it a quit? And I would like to, I request that the admin, please drop the link to the YouTube so that people can share with their family and friends. This is a very educative session. We don't want to miss out of it. It's really very enlightening. And yeah, we've heard it all. I was trying to see if I can do team trust fund, but I think it is better that we do the two for our own benefit. This is so insightful. So guys, if this has been educative and you have gained a lot, please let's see in the chat box. Let's appreciate Tara and Godswill. I just spoke with Godswill maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, and here he is. I really appreciate that. And for Tara, don't worry, I will not stress you again. We have done it finally.
thank you.
Yes, while we await the conversation, while we await people appreciating and saying thank you, I want you to give us your last words. Tara, can you please give us your last words? What are you advising? How do you? This is a family, so just say a few words to us.
Like I would say to what I have done and what I've practiced basically is to ensure that I more or less, distribute my resources and my assets in my life, and I tell my likely beneficiaries that this is what you're getting. I know a friend of mine, when her father was 70, did that. He read out his will to everybody, called all his children and said, look, this is my will and this is how I'm sharing and distributing my assets. And if anybody doesn't like it, let them come and meet me now and tell me. Because at that point in time, he still had some young children. So he told them that some of the assets were tied to paying the school fees of the young children until they finish university. Fortunately for him, he didn't die at 70. So when he was 80, he called yet another meeting, to tell them, okay, these children have finished school and to give the property more or less to the children, even though he was alive. You understand? So I think that doing a lot of things in your lifetime, we don't like to talk about death. We don't like to think about death, but it's inevitable. It's going to come. So what you should do to make life easier for your beneficiaries is what you should think about. Like I've told my kids, they have my internet banking stuff. If I buy property, I buy in the name of a company, and then there are shareholders in that company. It doesn't go through probate. Those kind of things don't go through probate. They're shareholders. They can sell the if you want to sell the property when it comes to companies, you just change if it's just one property that company owns, you just change the directors and shareholders at CAC and you sell, and that's all. You don't go through registering at lands or doing all sorts of things or going through probate. So there are ways of doing it, but the best thing to do really is to do it in your lifetime. Don't wait until you are dead and the one that you trust, to do what you think they will do might not do it. They might be influenced in other ways negatively. So do what you have to do in your lifetime, and once you do that, I'm sure things will work out. That's
Thank you, Tara. Tara said, do what you want to do in your lifetime, not when sickness is starting, that they will say maybe your brain was already going down, so you didn't know what you're doing. Do it in your lifetime. And I think she also mentioned, was it Tara or Godswill that said something about you can start writing your will as early as age 18? you know, and I'm
No,
sure a lot of us are more
you must be at least 18 to write your will.
18. Yeah. So please, those little things that you think is not big enough, you can start just putting them down and assigning. We used to be afraid that, hey, they want to kill us. I'm not ready to die. Why are you telling me to write will? But I think we have learned and heard everything that they have shared with us this evening. And when Tara was sharing that story of the man that wrote this will, I said, that daddy wants to die. Why is he writing will at 70? They will just say, let him
He
come
knows
and
the
die.
children that he has. No, he knew the children that he had, and he had children from different, and he needed to put. So once you know yourself and you're honest with yourself and honest with the people that surround you, you would be better prepared to do the right thing. But when you delude yourself, and say, oh, death will not come, or this child will do this, or this child will not do it, then you set up yourself for trouble.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much. Godswill, there's a question in the chat session that says, does trustee have international extensions? So while you are responding to that question, please just give us your last words as we round up for the day. I know you have another meeting.
Yes, I was. I already told them that I'm going to be a bit late. Depending on the kind of companies that are doing the trust for you, that would determine whether, because there are different jurisdictions for different levels of trusteeship. Okay, the kind of trust that I see in America here is quite different from what I saw in Nigeria. So there are different elements. Okay, so it'd be nice for you to have a trustee company that somehow has a handshake across the Niger. Okay, a handshake across different jurisdictions. Things are easier now. One company can actually get your relationship with UK, America, because things are strategic alliances are all over the world. So it's not the way it used to be before. If you plug it into what trustee company, it can help you navigate whatever challenge you have across international levels that you want. Okay. My summary would be that whether it's a will or a trust, don't forget one thing. It has, because of the wiring that we have as Africans, it's always looking like it's a death benefit. But from an asset manager point of view, trustee and will are really asset protection models or asset protection mechanism. Don't take that away from that discussion. So that it doesn't look like the whole discussion we had here was protecting my assets when I'm not around. No, they are not that. They are just one aspect of asset protection mechanism. So having said that, there's a need for us to rewire our understanding. Because growing up, we have this, like you keep saying, am I going to die when I'm... That's how we've been viewed. But there's a need for us to begin to drop those limiting beliefs, those things that are making us not bring our potential ahead of time. In Europe and America, it's normal. In South Africa, where I did some work in South Africa, as a young people, insurance is normal. It is not a discussion. You do insurance. They even go ahead and do burial insurance. And I'm talking about somebody who's in his 30s, as small as in South Africa here, because that's the way they have been groomed. So, my guys, I'm saying, understand that what we have talked about today is an aspect of asset protection strategy. Adopt it, educate yourself more, because this 1 hour we had here cannot show you or give you the entire gamut of what you're supposed to know. So take out some time, educate yourself around this thing, and then that journey, you will now know whether it is will I want to do or trustee I want to do. Do not take my word for it. I do not know your journey. You will determine your journey after you have educated yourself, and then you will know the one that fits you better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your last statement that our journeys are different. So you need to know who you are and what you want for yourself. And I always say here, our realities are different. So when I'm asking questions, I'm asking questions based on my own scope. You might want to know more, and that is exactly what you just said, that our journeys are different, our realities are different. And so what decision we're going to make should be based on that. Thank you very much. And with this, we come to the end of family meeting, the May edition. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for staying till the end of this meeting. And I can see you appreciating our guest speakers. I want you to appreciate our guest speakers. I want to see you say thank you. Thank you, Tara. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Tosin said,